What deal was it for Biggie to lead a vibe party in an SUV with the Life After Death stickers on the hubcaps?
Well, I don't know if Big came over to Andre Harrell with that on his car, but Puff didn't have it on his car. Cause somebody wanted to know, yo, if y'all gonna get Big, he go to the car with the stickers on it. I don't know if Big came over to Andre Harrell with that on his car, but Puff didn't have it on his car. You understand that? So only one that has an opportunity and only one that could have done that was somebody for the street team. Do you understand that? So somebody was put up to do that because they didn't put it on Puff's car. And those cars was rented. So to put those stickers on there, you defacing the property. Yeah, Macbeth, something was rotten in Denmark. You understand? Something was rotten in Denmark. And it was happening inside the whole Bad Boy clique. Because you got to understand this, man. Puff and Big wasn't as close as niggas you would think they were. Puff robbing Big, and Big was robbing Puff.
A quarter century ago, Biggie Smalls' death in Los Angeles shocked the hip-hop world. The rapper, born Christopher Wallace and also known as the Notorious B.I.G, was 24 years old when unidentified shooters fired 4 bullets into his body and peeled off into the night. Ever since fans have asked, who killed Biggie Smalls? And that answer may just lie with Biggie's former bodyguard, who claims that the car the hypnotized hitmaker rode on was marked. Despite being a rental, a very suspicious move that he interpreted as a way the hitmen would know where the rapper was. Big Gene also revealed that Diddy's car wasn't marked, therefore placing him as the main suspect in the rapper's death. So, what else did Big Gene reveal that confirmed Diddy planned to take out Big? Stick around and find out.
You know Pac just got killed. It ain't no kind of business Big was doing. Big couldn't even walk, he couldn't run. They was pushing him around in a wheelchair, brother.
Biggie Smalls' death came at the height of his career. His debut album, Ready to Die, crowned the king of East Coast hip-hop 3 years earlier. Signed to Sean Combs' Bad Boy Records, the Brooklyn native had been pitted against Suge Knight's West Coast label Death Row Records. The bicoastal feud had already cost rapper Tupac Shakur his life 6 months earlier. In Los Angeles, to promote an album and attend industry events, Wallace and his entourage left a Vibe magazine party in 3 SUVs at 12:30 a.m. on March 9, 1997. They stopped at a red light on Wilshire Boulevard in South Fairfax Avenue 15 minutes later when a Chevrolet Impala SS pulled up and fired off shots before vanishing. This is where Big G noticed that the rapper was led into a death trap. LAPD detective Greg Carding had already claimed to have found evidence of Combs hiring Crips gang members to kill Shakur. And recently, former FBI agent Phil Carson claimed to have found evidence that Suge Knight ordered Wallace's killing in retaliation and had corrupt cops paid off to cover up the crime scene.
And if he's ingratiated himself with Suge, knowing that Suge's this really successful guy, it's not unusual at all. You know, all of those guys that were surrounding Suge and doing doing his dirty work, they were doing it.
But Gene thinks otherwise. According to him, Diddy is outrightly responsible for Diddy's death as he is the one who would have benefited the most from his death. During his explosive interview with The Art of Dialogue, Big Gene, as he likes to call himself, revealed that someone within their camp deliberately had Biggie's car marked so that the assailants would know where he was. Gene elaborates that such a move would attract a monetary fine since the car hiring companies don't allow stickers on the cars. More shockingly, the former security guy claims that Diddy's car wasn't marked, a clear indication that links the hit to the bad boy boss, Sean Diddy Combs.
So only one that has an opportunity and only one that could have done that was somebody for the street team.
Born on May 21, 1972, in Brooklyn, New York, Christopher George Wallace came of age during a difficult time for New York City, which had narrowly avoided declaring bankruptcy in 1975 and drastically slashed social services in the years following. His father left the family when Wallace was 2, and his mother, Belinda Wallace, worked 2 jobs to keep the family afloat. By age 12, Wallace began dealing drugs. By 17, he had dropped out of school. Things grew serious when Wallace was arrested on a weapons charge and received a suspended 5-year sentence in 1989. He was arrested for violating his probation within a year and sentenced to 9 months in jail for dealing cocaine in 1991. Fortunately, Biggie had also begun to record himself rapping. He soon stopped merely rapping on street corners of his Bedford-Stuyvesant neighborhood and recorded a short demo tape. When editors of the source got their hands on it, they profiled him in their pages. Sean Puff Daddy Combs, an A&R executive trying to start his own label, found Wallace immediately to sign him. Wallace's Single Party and Bullshit was released in June 1993. That year, he forged a friendship with Tupac Shakur, who was already a star and served as an experienced peer. When his debut album, Ready to Die, dropped in 1994, the Notorious B.I.G. became New York royalty. His death not only his fans and family, but the entire world, considering he was just 24 and that it happened barely 6 months after Tupac. His friend-turned-foe had been gunned down in the same way. While everyone else believed the hit was orchestrated by the West Coast in retaliation to Tupac's death, Gene believes Biggie's death was an inside job. Aside from the fact that only Biggie's car was marked, Gene also revealed that the rapper didn't have enough security on the night, all thanks to Diddy, who had ignored all the warnings and intel that some people were going to try and take out Biggie during the party.
Come in the house, because I was at the Beverly Hills Hotel, and I go directly upstairs. I say, Paul, where Puff at? He said, he upstairs with Kim. So I call him. I say, Puff. He comes to the top of the staircase. And I say, yo, Puff, I got some intel, brother. You understand? Now, Puff, no. He ain't never heard me ever tell him not to go nowhere. And I didn't tell him not to go nowhere that night. I said, Puff, I got some intel. The guys are coming to kill us tonight at the museum party.
Gene challenged the belief that Biggie met his demise from a drive-by and asserted that the car was awaiting the MC all night. Throughout his explosive interview, the Bodyguard vents his frustrations with the lies he says are being portrayed in documentaries and interviews. It just hurts because they lied too much, he said. A lot of that should be lies the way they put it together, cause they listening to these white boys who wasn't even there. I don't want to make this racial, but they take these white boys who wasn't even there and want to use the stories that they want to tell, which is not the truth. Was it no drive-by? The car was standing there at the corner. The stories they tell is not truthful, and now people are sitting here believing. Deal added, every Biggie movie that you see, they say it's a drive-by. When the witness tells you the car was stood right there at the corner, the car was probably there all night. Deal recalled the details of the March 1997 night when bullets struck Biggie, and he was required to come to his aid. He also says that the situation would have been avoided if Diddy had heeded his call to have more security. In fact, he hinted that he was practically pulled off Biggie's security, a move that left the young rapper exposed. He described pulling the legendary MC from his Suburban as the young 24-year-old died in his arms. The former Bodyguard fought tears as he remembered the spring night when the Bad Boy Records chart breakers attended that Soul Train Awards show after party, claiming that B.I.G.'s death still haunts him. I saw this kid lose his life. This kid died while I was pulling him out of the car. I wouldn't put nobody in my shoes cause I don't feel like they could handle it. He continued, if I didn't have God in my life, if I didn't have people praying for me, I don't know if I could have handled it. Before we left Andre Harrell's house, Puff told me I didn't have to go. Now, I went because I knew that somebody was going to die that night, somebody was going to get shot. I did everything in my power to stop it from being Puff, and it wasn't Puff. But just why did Diddy try keeping Gene at home? Did he know something was going to happen? Your guess is as good as mine. June continued, the people that was bodyguarding Big didn't do everything in their power to stop it from being big, and that hurts me, even though it wasn't my principle. Every time you hear his music, every time you see one of these murals on the wall, now they got statues. It's gone hurt until God takes me away from here. For FBI agent Phil Carson, the answers about Biggie Smalls' death were clear. His 2003 report outlined that the target was Combs, but the shooters mistook Wallace's car for his, an insight that Gene sharply contrasts. As for the shooter who killed Biggie Smalls, the detective pointed at Amir Muhammad. He was not only an alleged hitman, but the godparent of LAPD officer David Mack's children. Mack was a central figure in the citywide Ramparts corruption scandal, in which more than 70 LAPD officers in an anti-gang unit were found to have engaged in misconduct, including many night hired to serve as bodyguards of his Death Row Records label. Ominously, Carson claimed he had evidence that LAPD officers were involved, and I was shut down by the LAPD and city attorneys inside Los Angeles. According to Carson's report, Amir Muhammad, aka Harry Billups, the godparent to LAPD officer David Mack's two children, has been identified by several sources as the trigger man. Mack was a registered owner of a 1995 black SS Impala with chrome wheels, the exact description given as being driven by Wallace's shooter. And in 2009, LAPD officer Greg Carding discovered evidence that Suge Knight, who was imprisoned at the time, ordered the hit in retaliation for Shakur's murder from behind bars. Both Carding and the FBI took a witness statement from a woman who said she visited Knight and served as an intermediary to instruct the shooters. But Gene, who was present when both Tupac and Biggie died, offers a different account. The big man insists his former boss Diddy killed Biggie just a few days before his album launch so that he would end up collecting all the revenues arising from the rapper's body of work. And no, let's not forget Biggie wanted out after realizing he was offered a shady deal by the Bad Boy Records boss. Gene even confirmed that Diddy stopped Biggie from going to London the weekend he was killed, a decision that the music executive has confessed haunts him to this day.
I think I always feel some sort of, responsibility because I'm in this thing with him, you know what I'm saying? He's my artist, and he was supposed to go to London that night. And, I let him talk me into, not going to London and staying in LA. And that, that's something that really bothered me, throughout my life. And sometimes you have to really go with that decision in your gut. And in my gut, I was like, you need to get on the plane. But sometimes when you don't listen to your gut, and this is...
Probably the only regret that does haunt me was the night that Biggie got killed. He was supposed to go to London for a promo tour, and he had talked me into letting him stay in LA, the entertainer, some years back. That's like a regret that I have, just not forcing him to get on the plane. But according to Gene, Puffy brought Biggie to LA on purpose so that he would kill him, then let it appear as though he was hit by Tupac's men. A wise move, don't you think? So, do you agree with Big Gene that Diddy intelligently set up Biggie and then blamed it on Suge Knight? Let us know in the comments section below. And that's it from us today. Until next time, bye